for this year, 2023. So I've been working through that. Big goal was before going into the year that I wanted to be level 60 at the beginning of the year. And
you already are. Like, yeah,
Done.
you crushed that on Friday, dude.
Done.
That was exciting. That was exciting to see. Does it feel good? Like, does it feel good crossing over that goal? I love crushing goals, dude.
It does. It does. I went out and watched the new Avatar movie with my friends after, and
how is that?
It is a very entertaining film. Avatar as a franchise, like, it's no insult to Cameron or anything. It just, like, it's very poorly written. It just is. Like, it's just, unobtainium is just a stupid concept. So the entire idea that my wife doesn't like Avatar, and she said it's for people that think that it's a Disney, for people that think Fern Gully's too adult. Like, that's what Avatar's for. And I said that to my friends. We were there to enjoy it. And I go, my wife thinks this is a movie for people that think Fern Gully's too adult. And she goes, they go, Fern Gully's a children's movie. I was like, well, now you know that she's not a fan. Like, she's aware of that. But it was fine. There was a lot of dumb stuff in it. But we had a lot of fun. Like, it was really stupid. And we went out for burgers after. Ooh. I got a legendary chicken sandwich. We have a local burger place that is just legendary chicken sandwiches. And
that's exactly what you want.
And we drank.
And like, what do you do? I've got a burger restaurant. Like, what are you known for? Peaches.
Oh man,
we got some great
such a good chicken sandwiches. I don't think there was a single burger on the table. There was like 2 salads, a chicken sandwich. They make great onion rings. Like,
who wants burgers?
We're like, if you're going there for the first time, get that. So I met a guy in an airport the other day who had never been to Chick-fil-A. And so I was standing in line at Chick-fil-A, and he goes, and he was like in his 60s. And he's like, I've never been here. It's all the hype. There's one in the town I live in, but it's always got a big line. I don't want to wait. So I'm here, I'm here in the airport.
There's more of a story here. Like,
and he's like, so I'm here in the airport, and I figured today's the day.
Frozen in ice.
And he goes, so what do I order? And I said, you order the chicken sandwich. And he goes, really? I go, yeah, you order a fried chicken sandwich, get the meal, get the waffle fries, get yourself a sweet tea or drink or whatever you want. That's what you get. You don't need any sauce. If you like pickles, get it with pickles. If you don't, get it without pickles. That's it. That's your only choice. And he's like, is that what you're going to get? And I was like, no, I'm getting the salad, because I've been here a bunch of times. Like, I know what I want. I like their chicken nuggets. I love their grilled chicken nuggets. They have a lot of great things. But
what's your favorite salad? Because I go market every time.
Oh, it's that Cobb with
the Cobb
with the fried chicken on it. It's amazing.
Nah, I mean, I can't process fried foods, so I had to go with the grilled chicken. But the market salad with the berries and the blueberries and strawberries and the vinaigrette, absolutely, every time, every single time.
So, yeah. So we were sitting there eating no burgers at the burger joint, and like all of us were just ripping on all the stupid things in the movie, just having a laugh. But like all 4 of us, we went as a group of 4 guys, and all 4 of us, 10 of 10, would absolutely have bought tickets if we had time to go see it again the next day. Like, I had an immensely great amount of fun. We saw it in 3D. The 3D tech's come a long way. I had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
Would go see it again. Absolutely would buy that movie. It's terrible. Like, it's terrible. It's just fun, but it's so bad. But it was fun. So
that's awesome, man. I might be taking Maddie today to go see the Puss in Boots. We do a special kid day, kind of like a one-on-one, and so today's that day. So I'm hoping that we get I looked at some movie times, I looked at some reviews, and I think it's just like 6+. It's like, great, let's go. I don't know if we need to have seen any of the prior Puss in Boots movies, but
not that fun.
Like, I think we're gonna have a good time.
I think we're looking forward to it. There might be some inside jokes in a movie that you missed if you haven't seen other ones, but like, honestly, you should just be able to enjoy something.
Yeah. Speaking of enjoying something, I actually finally saw the Black Adam movie last night. I finished that, and that actually was like a fun movie. And at the same time, I'm so glad that universe is just getting yeeted into existence, because it's like, okay, like, and then I don't know about your process, but usually after I watch a movie and playing catch up, I immediately go to the pitch meeting. Because it's like, all right, now that I've finally seen it, I can finally go watch.
Yeah. Ruin what I just saw, please.
Yeah, please. Let's make fun of it. If you guys have
not been watching pitch meetings on YouTube, just Google pitch meeting and any movie you want. You can go back and ruin Jurassic World. You can. Yeah. They've done a ton of them. And it will absolutely. It's amazing.
Chris and I think quote pitch meeting in every episode that we do. subtly it to a degree. Like, so like if you go back into the archive, like you'll hear us just quote it at random and perhaps even at nauseum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I love
yeah,
pitch meeting.
that's the perfect review of Black Adam. Agent says, I watched Black Adam and I thought it was okay. It's like,
So
yeah,
you have a movie for me? I do.
I do.
Uh,
Hey, how about that twist? I'm gonna put that in the trailer. But it's a big moment. Yeah, going in the trailer. It's like, what the hell?
Isn't that going to
my
make
God.
people really angry? Yeah, probably. Super angry. Oh, super angry is tight.
Is that gonna be difficult for you?
No, super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Good. So we hit our quota for this episode, so we can actually talk about video games.
All right. So we're here to talk about Call of Duty.
Yes.
I was doing more DMZ this weekend.
Such fun. Julie and I actually went and was playing DMZ as duos this just last night. It was incredible. Like, I was like, this is so much fun. I texted Brandon to see if he wanted to hop in and join us. And knowing Brandon, like he did, but I was already asleep because I was like, yep, 2023, not going to stay up to midnight just to play video games. So it was about 10:30 and I called it. And then I saw that I was watching the pitch meeting and I saw his invite to the game pop up on the Xbox. I was like, sorry, bro. Like, I've already tapped out. I'm tired. But dude, I tell you, with Call of Duty, hands down, I was rocking 40, 50 kill games last night. I'm trying to figure out how to make this a video. I know if I do post it, it won't get watched because it's not like people come to us for late breaking Call of Duty, news and gameplay. But I was going to call it Call of Belly because legitimately I was like, I won every face up by just going clamor. Like, oh, guy, clamor, kill. All right, running, clamor, kill. Like, I was like, is this the secret sauce? Have I discovered the magic of Call of, and I was like, oh, it's the Call of Belly, baby. Like, every time I see somebody, I just go prone and then and kill them. And it was insane. My KDA was unreal. And I was like, well, this is great. I'm going to tell Chris about this tomorrow because I was absolutely crushing it and having a good time. But
we were doing twos and we had a round where we had, I think, 140 kills.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. I had a friend that was rolling a marksman rifle and he got 90 kills in one of our matches.
Yeah.
I don't even know how that's possible. We were just clearing strongholds and safes.
Oh, so you're doing DMZ. I was talking about just normal heads up PvP.
Oh, no.
It was wild.
No. No, the dolphin dive thing it's fine in PvP. I assumed you were talking DMZ.
Oh, sorry. I did a hard pivot because we went from PvP and then Julie was like, do you want to do some regular matches? And I was like, okay, let's do that. And before Julie got on, I was doing like the naughty list playlist. And like, I was like, and I discovered it. I was like, all of a sudden I was like, all right, I'm going to go prone because it's insane chaos. And I was like, I just put up 60 kills. Like, it was unbelievable. I was like, well, yeah, this is that kind of mode. We're on shipment. It was domination, yada, yada, yada. Lots of people to shoot always rapidly. But then all of a sudden I went in with Julie and we were on every different kind of map and mode. And it was like, did I like, am I the only, like, is this how people play? Like, is it all about prone?
What level are you? So I have some friends that speculate when they play with me and our friend Steven, they say that when you play with higher level people, you get in lobbies with, on average, higher level people. You still see low level people.
Yeah.
But like your brother said he played for 5 hours the other night and never saw anybody above level like 80. Never. Not a single person. He just played nonstop. He got off work and just played nonstop till he fell asleep and never saw a single person. And then he hops in lobbies with us and it's all 250s. And that's because like Steven's 220 and I'm 150 or 160 or something. And so like, and max is 250. And so we're just running against all the max level players because, and so I wonder if the behavior is different depending on the lobby you're in.
It very well could be. I don't recognize what like I was up against in terms of their level. I think I last night crossed into the 40s because I got a late start. I have missed all the double XP weekends and all that stuff. So I'm just kind of chugging away. I just recently unlocked Stim. And so I was like, great, let's go. So
okay, so you've not unlocked everything. You are below 55.
Right. I have not unlocked everything. I'm still working that progression track. I did complete the battle pass, interestingly enough. So I don't understand how their battle pass system works. I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I haven't bought it. It's been plenty without it. It's been great.
Yeah.
I get lots. It's been great. I have everything unlocked. I've unlocked probably, I don't know, 15, 16 weapons or something. Steven's well ahead of me. So between us, I think we have just about every weapon unlocked, fully unlocked, max level.
Oh, nice.
And like DMZ is such a great way to do it. It's not the best
Oh, yeah.
experience. The best experience is in shipment, but shipment is not. That's not Call of Duty.
If you're grinding,
it's not.
And they also just released a raid, right? And so like a part of me when we talk about this, because we're also going to contrast this with our frustration, if not borderline anger towards like Halo Infinite. But when it comes down to this, I've been frustrated with the Call of Duty franchise to the point where it's like Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 was really my exit point. Like it was like, I thought the pinnacle one. And after that, you had the whole drama with and that ended up founding Respawn, and we ended up getting Titanfall. And I was like, yeah, that's going to be the series I kind of moved to for that style. This in and of itself feels like such an incredible package of a game that introduces, and it feels like it's firing on all cylinders. Because the last time I played Call of Duty with you, I continued to get disconnected. Like it felt like there was like, are we playing a beta? Like, why is it that we can't
You're the only
get
person
connected?
I've seen that, and you're on crossplay, and I know for a fact some of our friends have crossplay.
No.
Oh,
Not this time. I'm talking
I
about
thought you were talking this time when you got disconnected.
This time it's been great. Like, no, even the connection on crossplay has been fantastic. Last time we played, I was on Xbox, you were on Xbox, and it would continually crash. It would continue to randomly eat somebody on the team out. And it was always the worst when it was you. It was like, well, guys, give me a couple of minutes because it's gonna, it's got to go through this intro and all. Like, this version of itself feels like the most complete edition, and just like when people look at some of the single player games out there that just have these really subtle touches, I feel like everything in this game, from my experience, even in the menu, you said the menu might be a little confusing. It is at first, but then it makes so much sense. It does everything I need it to do right within a click away of what I'm looking for. So I'm not drilling into all this insanity. Like, it really feels very curated to like a very intentional thing. And I really actually appreciate the heck out of that for what it does deliver.
So the goal today, I don't know how you've been editing these videos, but like the clip that would go at the beginning to answer the title is Halo versus Call of Duty.
Yeah.
As base fans, you and I are way bigger Halo fans than Call of Duty.
Oh, hands down, yes.
Our history with the franchise of Call of Duty is one littered with times that we've been frustrated at monetization or frustrated at previous versions that have rolled out with all sorts of bugs. And that there's just generally a more toxic feeling when I'm in a Call of Duty game. It's generally me using a lot more foul language, so I don't stream it. I'm just generally a much less happy person. And Halo is all these joyous memories. I've enjoyed the campaigns. I've enjoyed every Halo game that's come out. It's been a great franchise. And like Halo 5, I have continually gone back to Halo 5 as one of my favorite shooters to play with my friends. Like I just keep going back to it.
The multiplayer of Halo 5 really delivered. Like outside of people and my frustrations with Halo 5's campaign from a narrative perspective, because it's very duality. It's like try to, hey, we're going to try to introduce this new Spartan. We're going to try to expand the universe. The marketing of the story of Halo 5 also, I think, did it an injustice, because they were doing this insane marketing campaign with podcasts and all this stuff. I was in. And then you played the campaign and you're like, none of that had anything to do with what's going on. Like it was just fluff. And then it ended up not feeling like that these two teams are even talking. And that's also when you had the big, TV push, and so I was consuming all of the media around the Halo universe from being a fan and not having the narrative play off, but the multiplayer paid off. Like, we spent so much time in that multiplayer, hands down, and it would always be something we would return to because it worked, Yeah.
So I think as we looked into this, like getting our group of friends to buy a Call of Duty game is just like pulling teeth, because there's always people that are just like, remember all the bad experiences we've had with this franchise.
Mhm.
And so like it's never something we look forward to. It's usually a game we only buy it because there's no other good new shooters coming out for like the next 12 months or more. So it
Right.
just gets to the point where it's like there because it's the
Yeah.
last man standing, and
It's
it's like, well,
there.
what else are you going to play?
Yeah.
And so like that's always how we end up in another Call of Duty. And then as soon as that we get into that Call of Duty, we play for 6 months, and then we skip a Call of Duty or more because we have such a bad experience. I've played a ton of them over the years, and inevitably, some portion of our group, if not all of our group, has a bad experience. It just happens. But with Halo Infinite, we thought for sure this was going to be a ringer. They spent like $500 million on it in just development costs. Like it was going to be the game to end all games. But actually, like as we talk about Modern Warfare 2 versus Halo Infinite,
Yeah.
I don't see how, like, my friends that are Halo Infinite fans are like, well, Halo Infinite could be better. Like it's all about this like hypothetical. And like they want to talk about Call of Duty's past sins. So when I say like, well, Modern Warfare 2 versus Call of Duty, they keep saying like, well, remember this other Call of Duty where it was a problem? Remember this other Call of Duty where they did this? Remember this other? They're never talking about the current Call of Duty's bad things. They're just holding it hostage for all these things that like they can't go back and rewrite history. Meanwhile, Halo Infinite, they're like, well, once it gets this, and once it gets this, and once it gets this. But like, it's a year in. They've got like 8 maps. And like, there wasn't ranked Slayer on launch. What are you doing? That's not the only reason people play.
The progression. Well, the thing though, and this is where I got frustrated. It's like their progression system has been so, bunk. Now, the winter update apparently has refreshed progression into a degree, and so it's one of the things that when it comes down to it, like the only point that I'm willing to give Halo over Call of Duty right now is that in terms of what you just said, the potential and the fact that Halo Infinite is poising itself to be a games as a service, we know that next year there will be another Call of Duty. And we know that your progression and all that resets if you want to opt into the new game. And we know that, despite, whatever ends up happening with Microsoft, acquisition of Activision Blizzard, that, assuming that goes through, that does mean probably positive things for the Call of Duty franchise overall, because then you won't have Sony like locking down, exclusivity of certain things that they've been kind of, a part of for a while.
As soon as like, they're going to lock down Call of Duty, it's like, you're the only ones doing that.
Yeah, that's you guys. Oh, yeah. Oh,
stop projecting.
Microsoft's going to do the thing that Sony's doing. Like,
I can show you what one of these contracts would look like. I have one in my pocket. Oh, wait, that's mine.
Yeah, like, that's my contract. Yeah, Final Fantasy not coming to Xbox. Like, yeah, Sony's paying for that. It's like, okay, guys, like, anyway, it's a big topic for another video. In this regards, though, like that in and of itself, that in year 2 or year 3, when it comes down to games as a service, a lot of the frustration you see with those games is usually in the beginning as they kind of figure themselves out. Ultimately, they can pay off with the investment. And I would assume that Microsoft wants to continue to invest in Halo Infinite. And in your case, when it comes down to the updates, it wouldn't cost you anything to then step back into Halo and experience all the content and updates that the game would then have. And so the question is that does Halo have a big enough update, a big enough event to warrant that reinvitation? And given enough time, the burn from the launch of Halo Infinite can be healed. And Final Fantasy is a great example of that. Like No Man's Sky is a great example of that. Insert any, successful games as a service game, and as long as they continue to put out content, they can, they can pull themselves back. But the question ends up being, well, if you're frustrated at Halo, like Call of Duty right now is the shooter to play. Like that is where to put your time into. And it really does, I think, highlight how big of a miss Halo Infinite was, because not only do you have Warzone, but you also have this new mode DMZ. Not only do you have, like, they're doing these fun and interesting things, and Halo is Arena. And that's one of the things that I saw these people like online, and they were fighting, they're arguing with me about it. And I'm sitting here going like, you don't understand. Like, I get that you like Arena, but you're not taking in the entire, economics of social media, streaming, and more. And Arena just does not hold like a battle royale. It does not hold like some kind of unique thing. And now Call of Duty's adding in raids. And it's like, Halo, where's the like you Halo as a franchise, like as a games of service, they could introduce a PvE element, right? A lot of people don't like PvP games. But why is there not a PvE element? And that's one of the things that DMZ I think delivers. And the fact that they're adding in raids, like it feels like Call of Duty is like, oh yeah. And then you're like, we're not even in the same race, like as Halo. Like Halo's off doing 1999 stuff. Like we're here in the 2020s, you know,
That's what
2020
Halo
plus.
Infinite promised. I think my biggest frustration of everything you just said is that
Yeah.
what Halo's getting points for is potential. And like a little bit of hype is fun. And like I'm hyped for some of the games that haven't come out yet, and I'm excited for them. But like we're just in this age of games where somehow like potential is more valued than execution. And I just disagree with that wholeheartedly. Like the sheer idea that a game, like just imagine it's your birthday
Mhm.
and like your wife has been listening to everything that you say all year and like all the little things, and there's some tiny little complaint in your life, just some, I never have enough like clean workout gear, or I don't like the way like my shoes are organized in the closet, whatever it is. And she finds some gift that's just going to like improve your day-to-day or week-to-week life in like a drastic way. And she's gone out and she's done all this research and she's sourced it and she's found this incredible deal on this amazing thing that you are just going to use for years to come. And it fixes it 95% of the way. And every time you use it, you're like, this is awesome. And the only thing I do different is I wish it was like a little, like I wish the shoe rack was a little bigger or a little taller, or I wish like it's a little thing, but it is 95% perfection. And you're telling me this, and I was like, well, what would you change? What would you change? I appreciate you like it. What would you change?
Yeah.
And you name these 4 or 5 or 6 things that, or your first year using it, you're like, I wish it was just like a little different. Probably nothing she could have done. It is what it is. But like, if I were to invent one, I wish it was like a little bit different. And then I told you I was going to get you a birthday gift, but then I didn't. But if I was going to, it wasn't going to have any of those problems. And then you immediately tell your wife, your gift sucks because Chris wouldn't have had any of the problems. Why didn't you just make it good? Like his has so much potential because it's still in the like theoretical state, and yours has been collapsed down into reality, and it sucks because it has these 5 flaws, and his wasn't going to have any flaws. Why didn't you just make it without flaws?
That's the Ashes of Creation problem.
And so
which, yeah,
Halo. So people are like, well, Halo could be good. Okay, but I'm having fun in Modern Warfare now. Like, why is the theory that a full-featured hundreds of millions of dollars game could be one day good? It's over a year old. We're not even like, oh, we'll give it a second. It's been out over a year. Yeah. And they're like, well, Call of Duty might not be good after it's a year old. Halo's not good and it's over a year old now. So like, I don't know why this like potential has been given this like blank check mentality in gaming where like the potential is enough to carry. I'd rather just play a good, like I want to play a good game today.
Yeah.
You're saying you'll be good in the future? Cool. Call me when it's the future.
I'm not saying it'll be good in the future. You made an argument. You stated like, hey, you made an argument and then refuted it and then applied that I was making that argument.
So
and none of that happened.
so well, you said like what you like about Halo is the potential. That was the initial statement.
I said that if I was going to give a point to Halo for anything, is that it is structured as a games as a service and not essentially a yearly franchise in which that you have to re-up. Meaning that if the game continues on, you have to choose to opt in next year. We know for a fact for the next Call of Duty game versus Halo, where in a year you don't have to spend a dime and you get to see for free if they've improved themselves or not. I gave a point over the model of the design versus the execution. And that is essentially where you, as somebody who plays games as a service games, I would assume have some kind of, it would probably give a similar point. Now, you're then saying that because 1 point to Halo, who has lost the battle, who he literally is, it should be shamed, like the company should feel bad because they did not deliver a product that I think lives up to the brand of Halo on the execution. You and I absolutely 100% agree on the execution of this version of Call of Duty is by far like that's where if you were going to say, Brian, what shooter should you play this year? the Call of Duty game, like Modern Warfare 2, because it has something for everybody. If you don't like PvP, it still has something for everybody. It is that good of a game. But I'm just saying that, again, a point out of however many theoretical points. I'm not making this argument that potential outweighs execution, which is that's what you said. You're like,
no, I'm saying gamers as a whole. Like
okay.
that I live in a world where I play 4 MMOs.
Oh,
and
yeah,
I regularly get told why Ashes of Creation is better than all 4.
Yeah.
And yet all 4 are executing right now.
Yeah. Well, that's the
like,
problem.
You know, my problem with WoW is it's not going to be as good as Ashes.
What?
Show me that when it happens.
That's oh my gosh. I was talking with somebody about that. We were talking about Narc specifically. I'm just one gamer looking for a good MMO. Open your eyes, dude. Like,
the whole genre.
You could play anything. And let's say Ashes delivers on every expectation that you have for that game. That's awesome. You didn't then spend right now, again, guys, 2025. If it's any sooner than 2025, let's pop the champagne and say, woohoo. But everybody who was like said it was coming out in 2020, 2021, 2022, people thinking it's coming out this year, like, you got to realign those expectations. Anyway, continue on, sir.
So, like, didn't Halo already release a mode that was locked initially behind the battle pass until there was like immense public complaint? Arrows, you had the battle pass at the time. So do you remember we were all playing at the time and you had the battle pass and we could play with you. You could drag us into the mode. But if none of us had a battle pass, when you were not on in our game night group, we could not get into that mode.
I think that was actually the case. Yeah. Like where it was locked behind that seasonal content. Not
so you're saying they're a live service model, but A, where's the service? And B, the one time they added something new that like immediately came to mind right after the game launched, it was battle pass locked. Which felt like you didn't finish releasing the base game. So
they have not
released, not a very good service.
They have not released a game. Like they have released like the promise of more game to come. And I think essentially what it really highlights is massive amounts of issues within the leadership over there. Now they have put in and brought back people. Like it's in a weird way. There's a parallel, it feels like, to what Blizzard has done. And that in and of itself is where, yeah, like, could they? Yeah. Does that mean that you should put and hang all your hopes? No, play something fun today. Like, I agree with you 100%. So many people this is a problem within, like, it's a personality thing, right? Like, I was talking about this in a recent video. So many people spend their time either living in the future. Like, that's why the phrase, like, I really try to avoid, I can't wait for. Because it's like, yes, I can wait for something because there's also lots of opportunity in the present right now to enjoy. I might not necessarily want to play those things, and that's fine. I could go find something to do with the time that I've been given. Also, a lot of people tend to push their idea into the past, right? Like, oh man, it was so much better when, or I brought up the idea of, like, you ever have those friends or those people that you went to high school with that have never really left their glory days of high school, how everything was great in that mindset. They get stuck in the past and they can never appreciate who they are now and who they want to be. It's good to have goals in mind. It's good to be able to look forward to the future with hope, but all you have is now. All you have is right now. And right now, Call of Duty, I think, is absolutely like crushing.
It's crushing
in terms of, I mean, numbers and sales alone. No wonder it's a big franchise. It also goes to sit here and show you, like, why it's overtaken Halo in terms of mindshare, right? It's cross-platform. It's play everywhere. One of the things that I would love to see Halo do is it should come to PlayStation, and all the Xbots are like, no, we got to have that locked down to PC and Xbox. Why? Why not let more people play it? Like, especially where I think somebody was saying it's taking a long time to get matches in Halo because it doesn't have the population to have those quick matches, and yet here we are in Call of Duty.
More concurrence in Master Chief or Halo 5. Yeah, like, that's where people are.
Everybody's just shifted back into the thing, and I think there's a challenge and a struggle that Halo's going to have, is because it has this nostalgia that means so much to people getting stuck in the past, that there is a portion of their base that does not or won't support the evolution of Halo into something that could be more appealing, something that could offer a broader range, fearing that the arena mode would suffer if they added a battle royale. And it's like, bring in more people. That's need more people playing. Though.
That's not what happened. It's not that the battle royale consumed ranked Slayer. Ranked Slayer didn't exist.
And
so like,
it doesn't have a battle royale.
And it doesn't have a battle royale. So like, it's not nothing's being. This is not. Well, people aren't supporting Halo because they don't care for the evolution of the franchise. They're not supporting Halo because Halo Infinite is not a complete game yet. It's over a year old and it's just not a complete game. So like, I'd be happy to support it when it's complete. The argument against why it should come to PlayStation is that you need to protect the experience. When Yoshi P was asked if the game would come to Xbox, not now, but when he was first asked, there were some restrictions at the time with the way cross-platform worked, where like in-game chat would not be able to exist. Where Xbox had some policies in place where they were going to want there to be Xbox exclusive servers. And Yoshi P said he is not ever going to move to a platform where they have to compromise on their initial values. The game is cross-platform, the game is cross-save, the game is cross-party, like that you can party with anybody. And any technical limitation that's been in the way is something that they have worked to remove with things like world visit, data center visit, so that you are either going to make the game as restrictive as it is today or less. Those are the only two options. Nothing's going to take us backwards. And so originally, Final Fantasy XIV was not eligible to be considered on Xbox because there were restrictions in place. Now, it's since been confirmed through both Yoshi P and Phil Spencer that those restrictions have been lifted. So at this point, we have to assume Sony's the only thing in the way because Bill said, ready when you are, and Yoshi P said, ready when you are, and the only person that hasn't said anything is Sony. So I assume Sony's in the way, but like, you say Halo come to PlayStation, my argument against that would be, is PlayStation wanting things like something exclusive, or they're not going to let it function through, like, if they think that part of the beauty of Halo's system is the ability to join a party while they're mid-match and just hop in through the Xbox game, like the Xbox social system, it doesn't feel as good that in Call of Duty, now I have to do things through the Call of Duty friend system, and that's not immediately my Xbox Live friends. And so if they believe that Halo is made worse by that, and they are not looking to make PlayStation a part of that, that would be the argument against.
Yeah, and I would echo that argument
intrinsically
as well.
tied
Right.
to the social
Like,
system, and there's so much of it that just works.
If they were going to put like Final Fantasy on Xbox and then it had its own Xbox servers, I'm against that 100%. And I've stated that back in the day. I was like, no. Like, a big strength of this is that you can play with your friends wherever on the same servers. This exclusivity lockdown BS, I think, needs to end. And I'm glad that Yoshi P stood his ground, and then we're not going to compromise on that. And so now, though, I would say most likely PlayStation's in the way. Now, Hail RT here says the only really other franchise that probably could contend with Call of Duty right now would be Titanfall at this point. And Titanfall is such a great game. Like, even Titanfall 2, and they redid the party lobby system to the point where we're like, we don't understand why that we figured out how to make these systems work so well. And then people were like,
they were like, you know what? Nobody's ever tried square wheels.
Like, what? All right. But outside of that, like, I think that the success of my hope is that with the success of Apex, it allows them to really invest into what Titanfall 3 can be. The concern I hear people echo is that the success of Apex means that we're probably not going to get a Titanfall 3 because they're so busy and involved and invested in that. And at the end of the day, like, if we get it, we'll see. Now, this was also back when they were doing the transition between the old generation and the new generation. My hope is that if they do a Titanfall 3, that it's like, PS5, Series X, forward, not like, hey, we're going to have to support a PS4 and an Xbox One or something like that, so they could really lean into the technology. And that's one of the things that we'll be telling when 16 launches this year, because Yoshi P says, because of the power of the PS5, they've been able to really take advantage of its features, and I really can't wait to see how that plays out.
What derailed the support for Titanfall 2 was that they made the mistake of doing a really good job with Apex. Like, that's ultimately what did it, is that Apex...
And the launch of Titanfall 2 was stupid. Like, they put it right between the Call of Duty and something else. Like, launch that in the spring, man. Yeah.
So it struggled out of the gate, so it didn't get an immense initial support, and then they started making a ton of money with Apex. So why would you invest in something that's been struggling when you have something that's crushing? And so Apex has become their focus, and I don't fault them for that. What I would say is a competitor with Halo is like, Battlefield still turns numbers. Call of Duty pulls numbers, whether or not you like Call of Duty as a franchise. So like, could Halo have a competitor, I would say that Battlefield and Call of Duty are the games that are releasing games now that do compete. They pull numbers.
Yeah.
They have an audience. They have a core base. So like I would love Titanfall 3, but we're back to kind of potential versus reality. And like in reality, there are people releasing games right now that are shooters. So rather than go back and hope for like a GoldenEye remake, we could instead say, okay, who's making shooters now that has an interest in making more shooters? And Call of Duty and Battlefield are the answer to that wholeheartedly.
Yeah, and Valta says that no one Titanfall 3 because Vince Impella is currently busy working trying to fix Battlefield, and that would be really interesting to see, because all of a sudden, imagine if they were deciding like, hey, we're gonna blend. You know, they could always be like, hey, let's blend these franchises, right? Let's make this game that, you know, that really could compete on those and the grounds. And I think with Vince and his team with Respawn, they've shown the talent that they bring to the games themselves. And so if that's what Vince is up to, that does give me hope for the future of a Battlefield franchise. I've actually never played any of the Battlefield games. Like I've always heard that they've just come out, had struggles, got abandoned, and then you waited a year. And that's essentially the other problem that I've seen with, and my one frustration with games like FIFA, like especially with how EA runs it. It's like they've been unwilling to kind of move into kind of a model where it's like, yeah, just have a FIFA game and sell the seasons. Just have this and do this, you know. But they do generate so much money each and every year off of that box price that I think that's essentially kind of where when you start to get frustrated at it, when we get frustrated at Call of Duty, it's like, why would you invest so much money? And kids, I guess, because the kids do, hands down, but it's just all going to get wiped out when you decide to jump and move to the next, you know, game every year.
I mean, you say kids, but like within this, why did you buy a battle pass for Call of Duty?
I just bought the bundle, whatever the $90 version of it was, because it's like, all right, that's the content.
So like that, I'm saying that's the same thing though, right? Like that's an annualized franchise that you bought something that was not necessary to the core experience, as opposed to I bought the base game and called it a day. And so like that's who's buying it. It's just people. It's just people. It's humans. Not just kids. It's just people.
Well, I'm just saying that like when you see like I know that glamour item out, you know, post, like, because I always kind of say like I'll make one purchase, I won't make 1,000 purchases, right?
Sure.
So it's like here's the money I'm willing to put into the pot. There we go. I'll have my experience, and whatever, you know, shakes out. But then I'm not going to buy 1,000 other little items. And then what you see here is that like, you know, oh yeah, you're going to buy that glamour. It's like it's just it gets replaced to the next thing. That's why like I'd be more willing to support, you know, like a cash shop for like Final Fantasy 14 for like we bought the Lunar Whale, right? Like, because it's like I know that 7.0 doesn't go and say all your stuff's gone, buddy. You know, like you have that fact that like that's something that I can use that, and you know that you'll use it in 5 years and in 10 years, you know, things like that.
Yeah, I definitely like games that kind of stick around, but like I'm sure there has been no shortage of studies within the FIFA team to whether or not having a subscription like a $5 a month and we continually update your roster throughout the season, bundles to buy various teams. They could then go back and sell like classics teams. And so I'm sure that, you know, with like the death of Pele and stuff, like I'm sure that there was some cause that Pele cared for, and FIFA could say, hey, we're going to go donate a portion of the proceeds to this cause. And we're going to bring back the old team that Pele was on from back in the day, and you can play that, and they could sell that as a bundle, and then people would decide whether or not running a thing for charity was greedy or not, and then they would decide whether or not that was in bad taste. And so like it would have all the same pros and cons. It would just be shifted to the other side of the mirror.
There's no bad press, dude. They're like,
and so like they could. So there is that kind of speculation: should they do that versus an annualized franchise? You and I, being a fan of MMORPGs, naturally see the value in the service model, and so we're both like, just give me one FIFA, and it's the FIFA that I bought in college, and that's still the FIFA of today. And if I go back, all my old teams were there, and then I can buy bundles to get all the new teams, and we can do that, and we can have an interest. And if you want to have a partnership with the Welcome to Rexar or whatever, you could go buy the Ryan Reynolds team or whatever, and like you can go buy all this goofy stuff, and you can get Ryan Reynolds' face on a jersey. It doesn't matter. Like you can just do all the and that can be where people spend their money, because that's how you and I consume games. And somebody's done the math. Are there more of you and me?
No.
Or the other way. And the fact that they continually leave it annualized probably says that evidence points to it remaining a multi-billion-dollar franchise with the existing. And so Call of Duty has managed to release games, and the current Call of Duty is crushing. And Halo
It
Infinite
also
dumped
like
a
crushed
big
over
chunk
a
of money
billion.
in one title, and it's just not.
It's not.
You thought, okay, it's one title to slay them all. It's got $500 million in it, or whatever the number ended up being.
You need content though.
And
Like
it's
you
not a
need
game.
content. And like they stuck to the roots of like arena. And I think that's essentially like that was fun. I played on your 6 maps or like whatever it was. And then you're like, all right, I guess I'll wait. And then it's like, okay, here's 2 more maps. Okay. And you could see their struggle with getting in and getting that content rolling out. They didn't even release season 3. Season 3 got delayed. So you got to think season 2 wasn't just like, hey, here's a season that's 3 months long, which would be kind of what's standard now for the shooter, games as a service model, right? No. We're going to go 6 months and all this we're going to delay some of that. Now it's actually like almost a year because they put out a winter season, something to kind of tide people over. I'm going to go check it out because I do want to see the progression, because my core fundamental problem is that they did not understand progression, and the way that they did progression with their freaking challenges, like, was so dumb. Like, it was so bung, like, I'm not going to curse, bung tomfoolery, because essentially, like, it then augments the way that you then play the game. And so if you got unfortunately matched into anything that was other than team deathmatch, team slayer, then essentially you had people who were just working on their challenges and not working the objective of the game. And you're like, these modes were like now run to time every time. And it was just painful. And it's like, this was also feedback that was given loudly many months, as they were kind of we're like, no, this is bad. Like, it's fine to have challenges. Like, we're not saying don't have challenges, but they locked 100% of the progression behind them, and they had to and that's why they couldn't have a team ranked. Like, it was just like, who is in charge of this? And don't let them be in charge of this. And hopefully the people who are in charge of this now will get it fixed,
It'd be hard to see how it gets fixed at this point. Like, it just.
I
and
have
the answer to Call of
can.
Duty is that the answer to Call of Duty is you just release another one. Like, that's the advantage, right?
Don't mess up.
There's this idea, like, on YouTube, that people say, like, only release good videos, but the people who make better videos also make videos regularly. Like, there is, you play how you practice. And so if you just don't practice and then be like, yeah, but when we, like, I don't want to practice now, but like, I'll do good when the game comes. And so the idea that they weren't in the habit of releasing games, they weren't in the habit of releasing content. And so now they're not releasing content. And so like Final Fantasy 14, people get frustrated with the act of some, the first 50 to 80% of a patch is predictable, and it's the same schedule, and it's the same time, and it's the same content over and over and over. But that means when they release something new, it's usually pretty functional on day one. We can get mad about some 4% off or some balance change or some hot fix they didn't foresee, but even those hot fixes roll out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that's because they're practice developers. They're used to having deadlines. They're used to having things on time. They're used to fixing bugs. And these games that have never released a game and have never released updates are like, yeah, but when we do it, we'd probably just release like an update every 3 months. Okay, do you have a history with a 3-month release schedule? What does that look like internally? Well, no, but like, it sounds pretty easy. You basically just release it after 3 months has gone by. How's that going for you? So I think like execution is where that's the biggest thing with Call of Duty versus Halo is Halo has a stronger fan base with more positive feelings, more nostalgia, more dollars up front put into a singular title. It had a lot of home field advantages, but at the end of the day, it just didn't execute as well as Call of Duty.
Yeah. See, I would say that, and the only thing I think I would disagree is that I think it can be fixed. And I think it ends up that fix is costly though. Like it's easier to probably just sit here and say, have your ducks in a row, get in the habit of releasing, as opposed to then having to say, now we got to fix the game. And now we also have to spend even more marketing dollars on and trying to invite people back, because no one's talking about Halo. Like no one's talking about it. No one's playing it. And that's a problem. And so essentially to do that is you have to come up with a plan. You have to then execute that plan. You got to basically pay twice, and then you got to have a marketing push. And then the question ends up being, and the question to you is, would you rather them try and save Halo Infinite and make it something really cool that in 5 years is like, oh man, they really did turn this around, like we've seen with games of service come out, struggle, and eventually keep putting in the work? Or would you rather see them say, you know what, we're going to abandon the Infinite, model, and we're just going to come out with Halo 7?
I mean, the problem is at this point that I don't trust them either way, because
they got to earn that back.
When the game came out, they said, we're going to fix it, and we're going to fix it quickly. And so I stuck around. And then they said, we're going to fix it with this new seasonal model, and there's going to be seasonal content released on schedule. And then it wasn't released on schedule. So like, they didn't just release a disappointing game. They then failed to fix multiple times. And so now at this point, people are like, it's so much better now. But like, why would I clear room off my hard drive? Because I don't have an external on my Xbox. Why would I clear room off my hard drive with games that are functioning now for a game that has continually not functioned? Because theoretically it does. Like, you're telling me to take something that is working off so that something might work. That means I am going to come out lateral or worse. Like I can't win. Yeah. Best case, I uninstall a game that I'm having fun in, and then I have a different game that I'm having fun in. Worst case, I uninstall a game that I'm having fun in, and then I'm not having fun in Halo. And I will say the worst part of Call of Duty is installing it. And I've already overcome that.
Yeah.
So like,
problem solved.
Done. I'm not going to uninstall it. That thing's like 9,000 terabytes with 82 40 gig updates. Like, do not uninstall Call of Duty until you are ready to be done with it. My God,
open it up at least every Wednesday, even if you're not actively thinking about playing that weekend. Twice. So that it ensures that it updates.
Once in the morning and once again that evening. You
just
never
keep it open. Never actually close it down. Just like let it tell you when you need to turn off your system and
the
go.
Call of Duty team has no respect for hard drive space. I don't know who on that team is in charge of it, but they I don't know if they're just their entire portfolio is in hard drive companies, or what. But my God, they have no respect for that.
No respect. No respect at all.
I can't do it. I can't do it, man.
All right, let's pivot to one kind of bonus topic. I'm going to put it up here on the banners here. I'm going to say first quarter 2023 hype. Like, what are you excited about within January, February, and March to keep this kind of tight? Because like outside of that, like we do know we have some dates. Diablo 4, we know Final Fantasy 16. Are you interested in those games at all? I know, I think I'm a big Diablo fan. I think you are too, right?
I am a big Diablo fan. I will be playing Diablo 4. I'm a big Final Fantasy 16 fan. I have trouble making time for games that are not multiplayer when I'm not streaming, because my game time when I'm not streaming is very limited. And since my streaming space is my job, MMORPGs is where I have the best outcome there. So I end up in multiplayer all the time. So I get very little time for single player games. It does happen. Things like Dwarf Fortress happen. Games on Switch happens.
Zelda.
So like Final Fantasy 16 coming out. Final Fantasy 16 coming to Switch is how I get to play it. Because that's when I play it. My wife and I love to travel. That's our end game. We live in an old house. We drive cars that have paid off. I wear old clothes. That's where we spend our money, is traveling. It doesn't have to be somewhere exotic. Like, we'll just drive up to go walk around some, state park or something like that. But during that drive, a game being able to run on Switch, that's how it gets played. So single player games, like I would love for Final Fantasy 16 to come to the Switch. I don't know if it can or if it ever will, but that's what I'd love. So I'm excited for Diablo. I'm more excited to see the games that I think have big true potential. So we are getting into the hype season for Final Fantasy 14. Their next patch is on January 10th. Their next Ultimate is on January 24th. And World of Warcraft laid out a roadmap publicly, which is not something they've historically done. And the first milestone is very early in the year with patch 10.0.5, which has some content in it that is unlike anything they've ever done in the past. They are taking store items and making them available in game for just doing things in game through a do whatever you want kind of checklist. They have a bunch of categories. You do not have to do all of them, just total points. And once you hit all your points, it doesn't matter if you keep going, you don't get anything extra. So very, very casual, friendly. And I'm interested to see how that plays out. I'm interested to see what it looks like when they support an expansion after it comes out. That's been an area that some expansions they've done well, other expansions they've done very poorly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm really excited for those. New World and Guild Wars have been regularly updating as well. But those are the, like, I think Final Fantasy and WoW are they're subscription based games. So I think their seasonal updates tend to be
what's
more
dropping
important in my mind.
Anything big within Guild Wars in the next 3 months, do you think?
They've been doing regular stuff. I don't know what's in the next one. I need to go look that up so I can sit down today. I'm going to be filming my Is It Worth It in 2023 video, and I want to kind of have that roadmap in front of me. They've been doing regular updates. They've been regularly balancing classes and stuff. I don't remember when the next one shows up, but they've been doing a lot. They've just finished releasing all of their first ever living season, which in other MMOs would be the patch content.
Mm-hmm.
And that's traditionally been something that's distributed for free, kind of like how New World's doing with their up to 1.8, all the Brimstone Sands. But if you weren't there when they move into the expansion, that goes away. And so if New World came out with like a New World expansion, then all of a sudden Brimstone Sands would be something they'd say, hey, and it's a couple bucks. It's not crazy. And so those living seasons start to be a way for them to kind of make money in a non-subscription game. And all of living season 1 is free with the base game. It's crazy. It's crazy. So that's all been re-released to the game. And for you, that would be kind of like them re-releasing the events of the end of 1.0.
Yeah.
So it's a big deal. It's a big deal. There's a lot of lore in there. People have been really excited.
Yeah.
And it re-destroyed the capital city. So I don't like, imagine if you liked 1.0 Old Awe better,
Mm-hmm.
the reward for completing living season 1 is you can go back to the old Awe.
That's cool. See, that's one of the things that if they ever did that for the original starting cities, combine them all like how they used to be, like into one zone that it was just like fluid. I think a lot of people would really be surprised and really enjoy that aspect. Maybe that's a video in and of itself, like what 1.0 things should come into the future of Final Fantasy. But on that note, though, especially because Guild Wars, we know what's coming to Final Fantasy. That's basically January. You talked about World of Warcraft. I'm assuming that's kind of like February. New World, we know that what's happening in February is they're getting the leaderboards, which I'm really excited to see how that gets implemented and how it impacts my play style. Is there anything outside of that January, February, March that's on your radar specifically?
For the Final Fantasy 16 thing, by the way, I don't think it'll run on a Switch as it sits. It's designed for PS5 unless there's a cloud version. That's the only way it happens.
Yeah.
And that really leans it towards Steam Deck, honestly, just in general. So it's really like, I say Switch, but what I mean is handheld. I just want to be able to take it with me. Because if I'm in front of my computer, I'm going to play something I can play with friends. So at that point, it's competing against games that I really love that thrive in this space. So
yeah, and 16 is not coming to PC in 2023 at all. Like it is PS5 exclusive for 2023. Yeah. So I've got like the collector's edition. I went ham. I'm gonna get a map. I'm gonna get a Phoenix statue. I'm gonna get some stuff, and Chris is gonna help me decorate my wall. Julie got me a neon Ginger Prime sign, so we're gonna have to figure out how to make this all look fancy and cool. But yeah, so I guess for me, like when I look at it, if I'm able to get my PS5 this month, I really want to actually play Forspoken on it. I don't know how I have seen people kind of have mixed kind of feelings about it, but you know, it's a Square Enix game. I'd like to give it a shot. I think when I look at February, at the end of February, Lightfall drops for Destiny 2. And so even if you're never somebody who like plays like the Destiny expansion, I always kind of play for like a couple months and then take a year off and then come back for the expansion. That seems to be my consumption of Destiny, but I'm excited to see Lightfall, and then that leads into the other only unknown or only known expansion for Destiny 2, which would be the Final Shape next year as well. And then we'll have to see what Bungie is going to pull out of their hat over the next couple of years in that regards. And then I think in March, when I was looking at what games are coming out, I think Octopath Traveler 2 is set for February for March. I can't remember the date, but I've been working on clearing Octopath Traveler 1. So I've been playing that, and gosh, I love that game so much. It's like I want to finish it though. I kind of get to the point sometimes where I'm like, this is so good, but then I'm like, I kind of feel this added pressure. I have it on Switch, I have it on Steam Deck, I have it on Xbox. I've bought that game because I'm like, I love this. I want to support it. Square Enix, take my money. And that's kind of my problem with with Square Enix. And also the CEO releases yearly letter, which I think he's just like, oh yeah, we're going ham on NFTs, baby. So it
You
will
say it
be
again?
yeah, dude.
I haven't read the new one. You said it last time.
I'll have a video out on it hopefully today.
All
We'll
right.
see. But
All right.
it's like, yeah, and then somebody was like, I was like, yeah, they're all in. And so we know Super Bionic Genesis or whatever, something like that. Is supposed to be their first release, and they've got more NFT projects. They're going to get ready to roll out on the world. And my stance on it from a technological perspective as a programmer, I think blockchain technology is fascinating. I think you have to have a good game first and foremost. And it's going to be very difficult for them to build out something that's a good game first and foremost when you're also trying to incorporate this unnecessary technology. It's like,
I just haven't seen anybody
do it
truly use it to do anything unique.
Yeah.
Right. Like the one example where I think it's really unique is something that's already non-fungible. And so when you look at something like concert tickets, having the resale market be something that's handled through NFTs. And so because it sucks that scalpers to a game or to a concert make all this money and the athletes or the performers don't see any of it. And the concert hall that's putting it on doesn't see any of it. Yeah. And so like something that kind of already exists where there's already a flaw and the thing that it does well fixes that flaw, like that's where it thrives. And so a SeatGeek or a Ticketmaster or something like that, starting to somehow turn that into an NFT, that's where it gets a lot more exciting. I don't see what about games that does. Maybe if we still lived in a day and age where we were using physical copies of games, so there was still this GameStop model where you were taking in games to buy and sell. It sucks if there's a game that's like a one and done. Imagine if you had to buy a hard copy of Untitled Goose Game and you buy it for $20. And then at the end of that $20, you go to GameStop, you give it to them. They give you $5. They turn around and sell it used for $15. And then it just continues to do that 5 and 15, 5 and 15, 5 and 15, 5 and 15. And GameStop's making their 10. The person's getting their 5 back. And it's just doing that over and over and over.
Yeah.
But like
the
makers
copy
of Untitled Goose Game aren't ever coming out ahead. And so like, that's where I think it thrives.
The digital, like imagine your digital license being an NFT in which that you could sell and they had that smart contract cutback, but that also then implies scarcity, because why would somebody buy my version, assuming that I wanted to sell it, of X game used when they could just buy a new let me just buy the new copy. And I guess you would be, if I was willing to sell it, that'd be fine, but then that smart contract would then cut back to the original developers as well. So I could see the digital licensing bring in that. But then the question is that do they then introduce a concept of scarcity? Like, we're only going to release 100,000 copies of Goose Game to then inflate its aftermarket resale value. Same thing with Dark and Darker, right? So Dark and Darker, it's in a public test. I got into it right now. And a lot of hype and excitement about this game that is being tested. It's not set for release yet, right? Imagine then they're like, hey, we're going to create, based off of this, only so many copies. So in order to play it, then you drive up and you inflate the cost based off of hype. And so there's a risk there that you could then start to arbitrarily make things like unnecessary.
But don't.
Well,
don't
because that was I agree.
I think the bigger advantage is somebody that like, I bought a bunch of games on the Steam sale. Steam has a program in place where for half of the price or 3/4 of the price or 80% of the price or whatever, I bought too many games. And so I can sell those back into the Steam ecosystem, and it effectively acts like a year-round Steam sale. Somebody can buy that through Steam, and then Steam and the publisher continue to take a cut, because otherwise those games are sitting unplayed in people's libraries, owned. Those licenses are owned, but they're being unplayed. You got 20 games in your library that all have 0 hours played. And so I can just sell that back. I can say I made a mistake and I can just sell it back. And so like, I have trouble thinking of real examples. And like, even when I make these, like I'm making these up as like the best games, but most of them just don't make sense in games.
Yeah.
They just don't. And so like, I just don't see any way. And the idea that you're going to make money by owning it requires scarcity. And I don't want there to be like, that goes against everything that makes games beautiful.
Yeah.
So we should be getting more people into games, not less. So if it's not fueling that, I don't see how it does anything but hurt just games. Just people should be having fun. And so the idea that we're going to limit fun somehow,
or you're going to turn fun into feeling like you got to grind it down on a job. That's been my concern, because the human psychology comes into play. Imagine like, oh, I'm falling behind. Oh, I'm actively like losing money. And then there's this mindset, especially like with I can't speak for the ladies out there, so I'll just say for the like dudes that are within our like age range, like the mindset of hustle and grind and be a provider and all these things that where it's like all of a sudden you connect that to the way that you decompress, and that's a concern for me. Like it literally be like if I'm not out there grinding out those potions so I can sell those and try to make a profit off of this stuff, like that ends up being where it's like, oh, because there will be the story, there will be the guy who's like, yeah, dude, I'm making six figures and da da da, and this is great and what have you, but not everybody's going to be that guy, and people will start to think like, oh, they missed the boat, or anyway, there's definitely a lot of concerns that I have for how that ends up playing out in the long run. But if it like, I don't know if Square Enix is going to be the ones who do it, but they're definitely the ones who are talking about it, despite all of the frustration and kickback. So hopefully that means that we get some good games and a system that essentially maybe benefits Square Enix and maybe to the player to a degree. We'll have to wait and see. It all is about action. Don't tell me about it. Everybody's already well enough concerned, but I think action is going to be, and good games going to be, what's the key takeaway?
Release good games, then worry about the money.
Mm.
Like good game comes first. After that, you want to have the newest Final Fantasy 14 partnership is for Skin Cream. Like do whatever you want to sell after that. That's fine. I don't care. Release good game first. Good game first. So I think that's the problem with the NFT is they're trying to show me the profit thing up front, as opposed to something that's like DLC or merchandise, where that feels very like I buy the game first, I enjoy the game first, and then I decide I want more of that game or something like that. I understand there's been times where that goes wrong, but like that's the generalized idea is you are expanding on an already valid transaction.
Yeah.
And NFTs just don't feel like that. They feel like from the very get-go, you're already focused on like the profit of the future.
Mm-hmm. The final game, as a final thought, as we wrap up and you head back to doing some Guild Wars over on Twitch. I don't know if it's coming out in the first quarter, but I really am excited to play the Dragon Quest III remake, which is done like in the Octopath like engine and that whole 2D HD kind of style. And Dragon Quest III was amazing, and the fact that if they are going to bring that back, I really hope it's a success. So I hope they continue to do that, especially with like so many great classics, right? Like if you're going to sit here and say Final Fantasy 4 and 5 and 6 and hell 1, 2, and 3, like we're going to sit here and say, yes, we got the pixel remasters, but wait, now what would those games look like if imagined within the 2D HD? Because despite people like who actively aren't interested in 16 because of the action combat, I'm not going to judge them for that. Like that's fair. Like if they want a turn-based combat, it'd be really cool to be like, guys, like you should totally check out these other great games that have been either remade or remastered, or Octopath Traveler 2 or Bravely Default, like that Square Enix continues to make those investments in those games as well. And I want to support those because I think that really money talks at the end of the day. And if they go and say, hey, we did this with Dragon Quest 3 and it wasn't a success, then we might not get 4 or 5, like all in that style. And I think those would be games that I would love to sit down and actually play with my kids in the new style, as opposed to like having to go back through old emulation and what have you in today's society. So that's my final thought. Christy, any final thoughts?
No, I'm really excited for 2023. It's a whole year of awesome stuff coming out for games we love, games we haven't tried yet. And honestly, just as long as people are having fun in games, that's it. I don't really, nothing crazy.
All right. Well, guys, that's going to be it for today. If you guys want to follow the link in the description, you can go hang out with Chris as he continues his adventure in Guild Wars 2 today. And it's going to be a fun one. Happy New Year. It's 2023. And hopefully you guys have some great games to play this week. Hopefully you've had a relaxing and safe holiday, weekend. And we're going to be here with you all throughout January.
Tomorrow I start Stormblood for my first time. The last expansion I haven't done.
And so that will finish you narratively. But are you going to go through Shadowbringers? Is that part of your lore journey as well?
I would like to. That doesn't feel as urgent. But I would like to go all the way caught up to Endwalker. The more important thing is I want to clear all the way through be done with MSQ and all together. So the base Stormbloods this week, then we'll do patch content next week. Then we'll go in and do all the MSQ and Omega so that Omega is done in time for the Ultimate.
Nice. Awesome, guys. Well, that's going to be great because it'll be interesting to then we could actually sit down and talk narratively. It's interesting, you're pacing with it, but we could talk about the kind of the narrative experience of ARR through Endwalker and how it feels. Very curious to see how that feels with this. Kind of is the last real chapter of missing, kind of knowledge from your perspective. So, all right, guys, go hang out with Chris. He's going to be live, until some point today, and then and I'll be sure to be with you guys this Friday as well. So thanks so much for tuning in to the live show. We'll be back tomorrow. I don't have yet the show scheduled, so we'll figure out what topic we're going to be talking about. So if you guys have any topic suggestions, be sure to let Chris know in chat, and we'll make sure we get that scheduled. So we'll be talking with you guys tomorrow, same time, 11:30 to 12:30 Central Time. Bye. We'll hit the end broadcast and just wave it out.